He didn't invent the car, but he made it drive the world. He was a visionary, a rebel, an industrial tycoon. But he was also stubborn, controversial, and flawed. This is the full story of Henry Ford, the man who didn't just build cars, he built the modern world. Henry Ford was born on July 30, 1863, in Dearborn, Michigan, on a rural farm. His family was modest, and life revolved around hard work, faith, and tradition. But Henry wasn't interested in plows or cows. He was drawn to machines, anything with gears, wheels, and motion. At age 15, he dismantled and rebuilt a pocket watch. He fixed neighbors' farm equipment for fun. To his parents, he was strange. To his teachers, distracted. To Henry? The world was too slow. And he had ideas on how to speed it up. At 16, Henry left the farm and headed for Detroit. He apprenticed at machine shops, worked long hours, and studied how things worked, from steam engines to gas-powered motors. In 1891, he joined the Edison Illuminating Company. Within 2 years, he became chief engineer. Then came the moment that changed everything. Thomas Edison himself encouraged Ford to pursue his dream of building a gas-powered car. With that green light, Henry got to work. In 1896, Henry built the quadricycle, a crude, lightweight frame with 4 bicycle wheels and a tiny engine. It rattled. It wobbled. But it moved. He had done it, he had built his first car. Encouraged, Ford founded the Detroit Automobile Company in 1899. It failed. Why? The cars were too expensive, too unreliable, and too slow to produce. Investors gave up. But Henry didn't. He believed in one radical idea: I will build a motor car for the great multitude. In 1903, with just $28,000 and a small team, Henry launched the Ford Motor Company. He started with the Model A. Sales were decent. But Ford wasn't satisfied. He didn't want to make cars for the rich. He wanted to make a car everyone could afford. In 1908, he revealed the Model T, a simple, durable, and affordable car priced at $825. It would change everything. The Model T was a hit. It was easy to drive, easy to repair, and built for America's rough roads. Sales exploded. But Ford had a new problem: demand. He needed to make more cars, faster and cheaper. So he introduced a radical new idea: the moving assembly line. In 1913, he revolutionized manufacturing. Each worker performed a single, repeatable task. Production time per car dropped from 12 hours to 90 minutes. By 1914, Ford was making nearly 250,000 cars a year, more than all other automakers combined. Ford didn't just change how cars were made, he changed how workers were paid. In 1914, he shocked the world by offering $5 per day, more than double the average wage. Critics said he was insane. But Ford was playing the long game. Higher wages meant less turnover, more loyalty, and his workers could afford to buy the cars they built. This became known as Fordism, mass production plus mass consumption. It laid the foundation for the modern middle class. But Ford's genius came with control. He hated unions. He spied on his workers through his brutal sociological department, which monitored cleanliness, morality, and even home life. He resisted change, violently. When competitors offered better designs, Ford refused to update the Model T. His motto: any customer can have a car painted any color he wants, so long as it is black. By the late 1920s, the Model T was outdated. Sales fell. Ford eventually gave in and launched the Model A, but he had already lost ground to GM and others. This chapter is difficult, but it must be told. In the 1920s, Ford used his newspaper, the Dearborn Independent, to publish anti-Semitic articles, including The International Jew. These writings were widely condemned, even by President Woodrow Wilson and the public. Hitler himself praised Ford in Mein Kampf and kept a portrait of him in his office. Though Ford later apologized, the damage was done. It remains a stain on his legacy, a painful reminder that genius does not excuse prejudice. During World War I, Ford tried to act as a peace negotiator, but was mocked for it. During World War II, his company became a key part of the arsenal of democracy, producing tanks, planes, and military vehicles. One of the most astonishing achievements was Willow Run, a Ford plant that produced a B-24 bomber every hour. Though aging and ill, Ford's factories helped fuel the Allied victory. In the world of factories, engines, and innovation, it's easy to forget that even Henry Ford, the man who industrialized America, had a beating heart. He wasn't a romantic poet, and you won't find dramatic love letters or torrid affairs in his biography. But Ford's love story is one of steadfast partnership, quiet strength, and enduring loyalty. Henry Ford met Clara Bryant in the 1880s when he was still just a curious farm boy in Michigan. Clara was intelligent, thoughtful, and grounded, traits Ford deeply admired. She came from a modest family, and like Henry, she valued hard work and simplicity. They married on April 11, 1888, when Henry was 24. This wasn't a love built on grand gestures, it was a love of shared purpose. Clara stood by Henry through every challenge, from early financial failures to the rise of the Ford Motor Company. She believed in his dreams even before the world did. Clara wasn't just the wife of a tycoon. She was a strong moral compass in Henry's life. She was a fierce vegetarian and teetotaler, and influenced Ford's later public stances on health and alcohol. When Ford launched anti-drinking campaigns, many say it was Clara's quiet conviction that guided him. And when union-busting violence and anti-Semitism tarnished Ford's name, Clara challenged him privately. According to some sources, she even threatened to leave him if he didn't shut down his newspaper publishing hateful rhetoric. Ford listened. Ford wasn't expressive with emotions. He didn't write poetry. He didn't travel with Clara often. But he built a Fair Lane estate in Dearborn, a peaceful place filled with gardens and space where Clara could enjoy her own hobbies. They took long, silent drives together. They shared simple meals. They walked through fields and talked about the world they came from. To some, that may not sound romantic. To Ford, it was everything. Henry and Clara had one child, Edsel Ford, born in 1893. Henry loved him, but their relationship was strained. Clara, however, served as the emotional bridge between father and son. When Edsel died young in 1943, it devastated both parents, but especially Clara. She became even more withdrawn, and Ford, who rarely showed emotion, was seen weeping publicly for one of the only times in his life. Their shared grief quietly deepened their bond. In his final years, Ford's health declined. His only son, Edsel Ford, had taken over the company but died young in 1943. Devastated, Henry returned to lead the company, but he was no longer fit to do so. In 1945, he handed the reins to his grandson, Henry Ford II. 2 years later, on April 7, 1947, Henry Ford died at the age of 83, in the same town where he was born. So, who was Henry Ford? He was a mechanic, inventor, capitalist, populist, and industrialist. He transformed the automobile from a rich man's toy to a symbol of freedom. He reshaped labor, cities, and daily life. He built one of the world's most iconic companies. And he helped invent the 20th century itself. But he also resisted progress, promoted dangerous ideas, and clung to control even when the world moved on. He was brilliant and deeply flawed. A maker of machines, and a man full of contradictions. Henry Ford once said, "If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses." He didn't wait for permission to change the world. He did it with vision, steel, and gears. But now, we want to hear from you. Down finger, what do you think of Henry Ford's legacy? Gear, was he a genius, a tyrant, or something in between? Car, how do his ideas still shape our lives today? Leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss an episode of Behind the Name. Thanks for watching. This was Henry Ford.